We got to break Cereba up. Cereba is a cartel. We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because, let me tell you something, this is Dart Island. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Word of Mouth for our first official back in the studio segment. It's been a long time running. Clearly, we had a lot of technical difficulties, and plus we were changing offices and different things, so we needed a little bigger space in order to conduct what it is we wanted to do. So we're going to start some Friday night roundtable discussions about all the topical issues, invite guests on to talk about it. So those are some of the things that we got in store for the future of Word of Mouth, and we want to make sure that this platform continues to have shared dialogue that is not bought out and have some paid narrative which is only one-sided. So I take great pride in knowing that, we are an independently run organization where anyone who has whatever ideas or opinions about whatever the subjects or topics are, we welcome to come here and have a conversation. And just for a little house cleaning note, for all the people who calls me to ask me to air other people's business because they want to name and shame them, we don't do that here at Word of Mouth. There's other platforms that willingly do it, so I suggest you go to them and let them be the people who deal with that. One thing that we need to talk about first and foremost, obviously, we're on the eve of 20 years since Hurricane Ivan, and eerily enough, we have a Category 5 hurricane swirling in the Eastern Caribbean, headed our way. It's almost like deja vu because I remember when Ivan was headed this way back in 2004. I was in Orlando, Tampa, or I was in Tampa, one of the two, with some friends, and I was looking on the news broadcast, and it hadn't hit Jamaica yet, but it is so similar in characteristics that I'm a little concerned. And I'm not saying that to alarm anyone or get anyone unnecessarily afraid, but the reality is that it could possibly hit us, either brush across us or go a couple hundred miles away, or it could hit us head on. We don't know. It's too early to tell. Certainly, a lot of the models are showing that it'll brush by Cayman. But in any event, we're going to have some tropical storm or even hurricane like, conditions. So we need to be prepared and we need to make sure that, we take whatever the necessary measures are in order to combat or deal with it. Now, I know that I made a comment after Hurricane Ivan, especially after looking at some reports that I saw coming out of the Bahamas from an emergency response group talking about tidal waves and whatnot. But I had made myself a promise that if I ever saw a hurricane beyond Category three and above, that I would evacuate, my family, and we would go and then come back and deal with whatever the aftermath is. But we find ourselves in this position once again, and I pray to God that this hurricane don't come our way, and I pray for all of the people in the countries in which the path is imminent, which means that they're going to have a direct hit. So I pray for those people, and I know a lot of people in the social media world have issues with religion and praying to God and whatnot. But my logic is this: is if you are willing to believe that the Earth is orbiting the sun at 6 to 7 thousand miles per hour while spinning on its axle at 1,037 miles per hour, then you shouldn't have a problem believing in God, because there's no scientific proof that any of that is real. They just tell us that that's what the science is. and expect us to believe it. But anyway, the logics behind that is that it's literally scientifically impossible for those things to take place. But when we look at all of the beauty and the strategic design of different living organs, and especially the human organism, I mean, you look at us, we got a couple trillion cells in our body. So this couldn't have been no big bang. We didn't come from no big bang. But that's my stint on the whole religion thing. But I can continue to pray in the God that I believe in and have faith in my beliefs. So I do say a lot of prayers for those people who it has already affected, the people who it will affect in the very near future. For us, more like Thursday morning. Jamaica, more like tonight, early tomorrow morning. So, and I have family in Jamaica. I have a lot of family in Jamaica. My father's from Jamaica, so I got a lot of cousins and aunts, and you know, in Jamaica. So, but again, I really hope that everybody, got themselves as prepared as they possibly can. I know the government were putting out strategic areas for sand, putting sand in strategic areas for people to fill sandbags and whatnot. Um, I knew that there was a plywood distribution. At least when I passed the Savannah office for the politicians in Savannah, I saw a bunch of trucks delivering plywood. So I hope people got what they needed, and I hope the people who really needed it got what they wanted. So, but again, you can never be too prepared for any hurricane, especially anything over Category 3. Ivan taught us a very important lesson that no matter how many supplies you buy, no matter how much board you put on your window, no matter what you do, when the wrath of Mother Nature steps in, it's out of your hands. So, but I pray everybody be safe, and I hope that for all those families who have elderly people who are stuck in their ways, and they don't ever want to leave their house, because I know my aunts that have long gone now, bless their heart and soul. I remember when Ivan was coming, they didn't want to leave their house, and they didn't leave their house. They stayed there. So, but again, I hope that for all those people who are taking care of elderly people, to either try to convince them to come to your house, or you try to get somebody in their house so that they have the best possible opportunity to, you know, to not be in jeopardy or in harm's way, or be at any you know accelerated risk, because of they want to stay in their house. But um, even though we got storm on the horizon, we've had some category 5 storms that we've been dealing with now for the last 40 years, and it's called the cost of living. And I can assure you that no matter how often we prepare ourselves for hurricane season, we constantly have to deal with the cost of living. No, that's a category 10 called the cost of living, and her name don't changes during the alphabetical order. It's the cost of living. And times like this, it reminds me, even though that I see it on a daily basis, but it reminds you just how vulnerable people are. You know, day before yesterday and the day before, there was a couple of people that I help on a regular basis. And I only say that because these persons have jobs, they work. They're not like they lazy and staying at home expecting somebody to help them. These are hard working people who cannot afford to get over that financial hump, that they can be comfortable, right? Because the cost of living and everything that we have to consume by compulsory. Because remember, it's okay if you want to buy a $500 pair of shoes, because that's your choice, but you don't have no choice when it comes to food and light and healthcare and electricity. You don't have no choice. These are things that you have to consume, whether you want to pay for it or not. You have to consume these things. So when you get into a position where your salary has been grossly outpaced by the cost of living, and then you find yourself in a month after month issue where you keep piling up the bills, and they keep multiplying and they're getting bigger and bigger, then it gets to a breaking point. Either your landlord tell you can't stay it anymore, or either CUC turn you off, or you got to reduce how many meals a day you eat. I know a woman in Cayman, and let me tell you something. I know a lady in Cayman that told me she only eat 3 days a week. And the only reason why she eat 3 days a week is so that her children can eat 7 days a week. Now you let that sink in. There's a single mother on this island that sacrifices eating a few days a week so that her children can eat every day a week. And this is a woman that works, and this is a woman that takes good care of her children the best that she can. Now, we can lay blame and we can point fingers and we can pretend like it don't exist, or we can just say, oh well, it's her fault. So, that what she get. And that happens way too often in our society without knowing the facts. We prejudge, we preconceive what people may have done or didn't do in order to end up in a position they're in, but that's not necessarily the case. I've known people that are right now one medical emergency away from bankruptcy. Why? Because one, they're not adequately insured, and two, if they were to get injured or sick that requires some substantial amount of financial assistance in order to take care of that sickness, they'll be broke. They have to remortgage their house or sell whatever inheritance they had, or go out and ask for assistance. These are the fundamental things that are impacting the average person, because generational wealth in Cayman don't exist. You have generational wealth with the five or six families that have always been controlling the wealth. And one of the offsprings, one of the ill-informed offsprings of the five status quo families in Cayman misunderstood when I said that the wealth in Cayman has only been generated amongst a certain group of families who today still enjoy that wealth. Luckily, karma plays a hard role in how they evolve, right? Because the offspring, not necessarily as astute and creative as their forefathers who created the wealth, but he said that I was targeting their family, but I wasn't targeting their family. I was just speaking about the realities of their family, and I wish their family well. But when other Caymanians want to generate their own personal wealth in order to leave generationally to their family, there are a lot of roadblocks and a lot of things that marginalize them. And 9 times out of 10, it comes from those families who are enjoying the generational wealth for the last 50, 60 years. Why? Because they don't want nobody to cut into that. Just go look up at the airport. Go and look and see who got all the contracts up at the airport. Go and have a look. Go and look at who wrote some of the duty free laws to support their duty free businesses. Go and look. Go way back in history. Peel that onion all the way down to the core. And you will find where family members sent other family members to Jamaica to get educated, to come back to run for politics so that they can change laws to accommodate their businesses. Facts. That's the sad history of the Cayman Islands, but nobody don't want to talk about that. We just want to run around and smile and wave and act as if we had no care in the world. You know, the term Cayman kind is probably the most damning phrase that I've heard. You know why? Because we've been kind for way too long. So in fact, it is a Cayman kind, too kind for too long. That's the problem. We have a red carpet roll out the red carpet service for anyone who wants to come and call Cayman home. Why? Because we are so friendly and complacent and always want to see other people doing well, but it's never been reciprocated to us. The services and the greeting and the complacency and the niceness that we show to other people, they don't show it to us. When they get into our environment, they get comfortable and they create the life for themselves. And I want to make this very, very clear. I do not have an issue with any nationality or any person finding a better livelihood for them and their family. I do not. What I have a problem with is when we have such relaxed laws that allow those people to bring their cultural differences here and behave the way that they behaved in their country. And a lot of times that is a result of them marginalizing everyone else in order to get what they want. And we see it here far too often. When COVID-19 hit Cayman, right? The fake pandemic, which created, I mean, you couldn't expect anything different, right, than a fake pandemic creating a fake vaccine. I mean, it only went hand in hand because, the thing that really bothers me is that we took that thing hook, line, and sinker from a cultural, historical position where we had we had men and that went away to sea with a third grade education and with no education and came back as sea captains and engineers and sous chefs. Coming from that stock, we really let down our forefathers by taking the hook, line, and sinker in this pandemic craze that went down. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have taken measures as a government to try to stay safe until we better understood what was going on. But some of the measures that we took were absolutely ridiculous. unimaginable. You can't shop unless your alphabetical last name is in order. You can't go to the beach because you might catch the cold. You see, COVID-19 came from a flu, but we couldn't go to the beach because you might have caught a cold at the beach. This is the sort of stupidity that we adopted simply because, in the sake of doing the right thing. Problem is that we were cutting and pasting for so long that we forgot what was real from what wasn't. So prior to COVID-19, when you look at the tourism industry, when you look at the tourism industry, it was predominantly controlled by foreign entities and foreign people and foreign labor. Facts, right? I agree, Cayman don't have the amount of harvest in order to accommodate, in order to fill every job. So we need imported labor. Absolutely. Problem is that we have not been able to distinguish between cheap labor, executive labor, needed labor, and compulsory labor. We haven't been able to categorize that at all. We put everybody in the same box, and we just look at the dollars and cents that we generate from work permits. That is the only thing. It is one of the most ridiculous things. So during COVID, we had a golden opportunity to restructure the tourism industry where Caymanians only were in the ownership, supervisor, and the roles of benefiting the lion's share. But we didn't take advantage of that. We did not take advantage of that. We kicked that to the wayside. And then when we re-engage with the tourism, we're back to the same behavioral habits that we had before, where we're marginalized, we're ostracized, we boxed out, we gated away, and then in some cases we even pushed out of it. So we don't have any real identity in the tourism hospitality industry. So when all of you people sitting around a round table at Department of Tourism deciding that you're gonna spend $13 million, $13 million of our money to create a global brand for an island that already have a global reputation, those are the issues that I face, and those are the issues that I see, and I have to bring up to the forefront because it's absolutely ridiculous. And then we got people who run in these departments as if it's their money. Oh, we don't care what the people say. We support our decision to waste the people's money. That was the comments coming out of the Department of Tourism. 100%. You can probably go and look on the government website and see the response that they had to public outcry of the $12.3 million that they spent. And you want to know the irony behind that? Is that even after they spent the $12.3 million for the global brand with one company, saying that, oh, well, previously they used three companies from the Canada, the UK, and the US, they now put out another tender for someone locally now to do what the UK office and the Canadian and the US office used to do. This is, I can't even make this up. It's unbelievable that this is the sort of thing that is taking place. But again, how do we hold elected officials responsible? And how does ministers control their ministries? Because we know that it's the civil servants that really run the ministries. So whether the politician, look good or bad, it all depends on what the task of the day of the politician of the civil servant is, the chief officers and everybody within that ministry. Again, we need constitutional reform. There's a lot of things that need to take place. And when you look at all of the industries in Cayman that are generating wealth amongst generations of people that not from here, go and look in the financial service industry. Go and look in the real estate industry. Go ahead. Go and look in the hospitality and restaurant and tour operating business. Go and look in those industries, and you will find the faces of people who are able to generate generational wealth, but they're not Caymanians. They're not Caymanians. When we rolled out the red carpet inviting people in to come in and assume these positions because we need them, we also rolled out the opportunities for Caymanians. We gave away those opportunities to other people. Because if you think I'm kidding you, form a group of people right now, go to the bank and tell them you want a loan to invest in a very plausible investment scheme. You can't get the money unless you got 70% of it or 60% of it. How will a Caymanian investment company that just starting out would be able to compete with an already established or somebody who got generational inheritance that they can just come in and set up shop and do what they need to do? The small man can't. There's nothing out there that is focused on helping somebody from ground zero. All the help in Cayman is from midway and above. There's no help from ground zero. None at all. Unless some private entity come in and say, okay, I see the merit in this, I see the value, I'm willing to lend you all the money from a personal lending institution. That's a few and far apart. You gotta know somebody who knows somebody that in business with somebody in order to get that opportunity. But again, how do we network as people in Cayman? We don't network where we get together and we see what the fundamental issues are, and we collectively work towards solving those issues. We don't do that. No, you have small pockets of people who do it, and then you have the people who are fortunate enough to born in a family that is a part of the five or six status quo families. These are the people that take advantage, and I don't have a problem with that. But again, it's the structure, it is how we move forward from a policy standpoint. So constitutional reform, an immigration reform, there's a lot of reform that need to go on in these islands in order to secure and create the Cayman brand. And until we do that, you can't call it the Cayman kind. You can't call no treatment Cayman kind until you have established a brand. You got to know what you are, where you are, what you're benefiting from, and where you're going before you can go out and say, oh, this is K-Mankind. You hear it on K-Man Airways, a stupid song about K-Mankind. You know what I mean? The fact that we spent money to have that put in place on our airline, when the people on the airline that come to Cayman, oh, where is the Caymanians? I've been here for 7 days and I haven't seen one Caymanian. Oh, but that's Caymankind, sir. Sorry. No Caymanians in Cayman. You crazy? Not in the positions in which you would imagine. No, the Cayman is not there. Oh, can we do something about it? Yes, but we choose not to. Why? Because the businesses that benefit the most from those industries are the ones who are enjoying the cheap labor that run those businesses. They're not willing to pay a Caymanian a meaningful salary or a livable salary to live in Cayman in those positions. Are you crazy? They're not willing to do that because the cost goes up for them, and then they have to in turn drive the cost up for the consumer. So at the end of the day, we can do a lot better in many areas in which we fail in that now miserably. I can tell you that right now. We look at the energy sector. We look at all of the generation. I mean, you look at all of the wealth generating mechanisms, and we don't have control of none of them. Not one. You got somebody who can be at home right now in Canada or South Africa or America or anywhere else in the world. Well, it's all about how you look too. So I can just name those countries that are obvious, the ones taking advantage of it. And they could be at home this morning drinking coffee, and by tomorrow morning they in Cayman and they selling real estate. It almost like it almost like you can get a work permit to sell real estate in Cayman quicker than a Cayman you can get on the voters registration list. Facts. Because my daughter registered from last year, middle of last year, and she couldn't get on the voters registration list till January. Can you imagine? You can go to the election office, and this especially for you, Wesley Howell, because you run it. And we grew up in the same neighborhood, and I got a lot of respect for you. But when you become one of the stooges of the wrong thing, I can't hide behind the bushes and pretend like I gotta be nice to you. You understand? I want to know why in the world a Caymanian child turn 18, go into the election office and provide all of the required documents in order to be on the list, but then it takes 6 months after that to get on the list. You tell me how that make any sense? Because I can assure you that we ain't got no hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of applications that are backlogged because we only got 12,000 Caymanian solid. So you can't rip off this story to me saying, oh, well, it backlogged, we got to wait a while. How is it that you can process birth certificate of proof of Caymanianship, which is the most ridiculous thing in the world, mother and father's birth certificate, and all of the necessary paperwork? I don't know how is it that you can provide all that paperwork to the election office on that day, and they enter that into the computer on that day, all of that information, but they can't simply add your name to the voters registration list the same day. Tell me how that makes any sense at all. It just goes to show you that we have created this system of reality that ain't reality. It's like living in parallel worlds. Like here's what should take place and here's what's actually taking place, and none of it makes sense, right? None of it makes sense. I want to know how a person who has a voter's ID card, a voter's ID card, can't get a job in Cayman unless they provide a letter proving that they Caymanian. Go work that one out. Now, if you think that we now working back ways, then think again. Think again. Two Caymanian parents have children that need to go and get proof that they Caymanian. Facts. But again, this is a system of reality that we live in. Now, I didn't want to go too far off left field, right? But sometimes you just have to say what you have to say. But one of the important things I want to bring up, and one of the things that I want to continue to talk about, that nobody wants to talk about because everybody afraid to talk about it. Everybody afraid to be victimized, and the salary might get cut, and they might get a check, or they go, whatever the case is. But I don't really care because none of them don't feed Mario, and they don't feed Mario children. The quicker and the sooner you can get yourself away from depending on government, the better off you'll ever be. You hear what I tell you? Because government love the system of reality of handouts. They love to have you begging them. Why? Because they control you. But you see, when they were pushing this vaccine, you had every one woman and their grandmother out there in politics. Oh, take this for your neighbor, and if you don't take it, you can't do this. All of this victimization they were giving you for not wanting to take it. And I speaking specifically to the members of parliament who implemented ridiculous laws that were inhumane, unethical, and morally wrong, and should have been criminal. I talking to those people. I want you all to go out now and find out why so many people dying in this country. Why people dying 5, 6 out of a week. Caymanians that were healthy one day got a clean bill of health, dead the next, or dead the same day. We need to talk about these things. Everybody is afraid to talk about these things. Listen to me good. Parkinson's, people who got other underlying conditions that they had, they're all magnified. Do you know that cancer has grown 500% globally? Do you know that there's a hotline in the UK for women who get their monthly cycle and it can't go away? Do you know that there's a hotline for suicide in the UK? Listen, this vaccine has completely destroyed the human race for all of those people who took it, and no one wants to live up to it. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to admit it, and everybody afraid to talk about it because you might be victimized, right? You might be put in a box and stuck in a corner. But I don't really care. They've done, but I don't. The only thing left for them to do to me is kill me. I can tell you that, and don't think that they wouldn't want to do that. But that not gonna happen. That not gonna take place. But we need to focus on why is it that the new social happy hour is a funeral. If you don't believe me, pick up your phone right now and call a random person from your phone book, from your contact list, and ask them what they doing Saturday. Tell them you got free food and drinks go by your house if they can come by Saturday. Hey, what they gonna tell you? Oh no, they gonna tell you yeah initially, and then they gonna message you back and say, gee, I forgot I got a funeral. I'm telling you, these are facts. This has become a normal thing in Cayman, and we have somehow seemingly accepted this. Perfectly healthy people dying. Oh, well, he had this before. I know, but the spike protein and the Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca magnifies everything in your body, the good and the bad cells. I got uncle who I know put the fear of God in me when I was growing up because he was like a father to me. This man struggling with Parkinson right now, something that I'd never seen anything like this in my life, and it has only progressed since he took the vaccine and the booster. I know other people who had pre-existing conditions who took the vaccine now, and their conditions have magnified tenfold. I know people who had cancer and beat it, took the vaccine, cancer came back and killed them. Facts. But nobody not addressing the gorilla in the room. Nobody not talking about it. The health minister, not a word. The government, nobody in the government addressing it on either side of the table is addressing this issue. And people drop down dead every single week. People that you didn't even know was sick or didn't know had anything wrong with them, dead, gone, and nobody not having no conversation about it. But again, it's one of those things that we sweep under the rug. It's a little speakeasy situation, right? It's just like the five families who've been controlling all the wealth in Cayman for the last 50, 60 years. It's a speakeasy. Well, I went to school with their daughter. Well, I don't care who you went to school with. I don't care. The wealth in this country need to be properly distributed amongst the local people. And not everybody going to be working in the same industry. I mean, come on. We allowed a foreign entity to own the monopoly for utilities in our country. CUC came out with this botched attempt to try to scare people about rolling blackouts because they don't have enough energy to meet the demand. Can you imagine? And then they sent out Sasha Tibbetts to go out and do the legwork. Poor old Sasha. He don't know the difference between electricity and running water or salt water. He don't know the difference. But they just stuck him out there. Why? Because he a white Caymanian. Oh yeah, very applicable. Yeah, that's the reason why they sent him out there. The reason why Richard Hugh is the CEO is because when you go criticize CUC, who you really criticizing? You're criticizing a bunch of Caymanians who work there and who've been working there. But that don't fly with Mario. Mm-mm. My brother could have been working there. They're gonna pick up the licks for me. I don't care. I don't care who he is. You understand? And if CUC were really serious about getting the message out, why in the hell would they go on the most uncredible platform in Cayman, the self-proclaimed best news outlet in Cayman? Imagine you have your own survey that crown yourself. I know they'll argue and say, oh, that Tower Marketing done it, but why Tower Marketing don't tell the country how many people they use on that survey? You got to pay $1,000 to get that information, by the way. But anyway, the reality is that is that we have to be held accountable for certain things. When we look at the energy grid and we look at the distribution, and this all ties into cost of living. This all ties right back into cost of living. Now, CUC got permission to do two battery storage systems. I think it was like 2 megawatts each. I stand correct on the wattage. I could be wrong, but it was to subsidize the core energy in which they are responsible for providing. Where these batteries is, they got permission. As far as I know, they're on island. Why they haven't put them online yet? Why they haven't put them online as yet? This is what I want to know. But we're gonna be doing some investigation and doing some reading and trying to poke around to see if we can get the right information and what's really going on. But what's amazing to me is that CUC was absolutely wrong in everything that they said and done surrounding that whole rolling blackout suggestion. Sasha went on, came on Mile Road to try to tell the public and explain to the public, and then you had a response from Samuel Jackson. And the irony of that is, and I don't know a lot of people. I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but Samuel Jackson, who is the chairman of OffReg, issued a rebuttal clarification press release in order to deal with the botched attempt that Sasha Tibbetts had over at Mile Road. And the funny thing with that is that what a lot of people don't know is that Sammy is one of the chef hands in the CUC contract for hardening them back in the day. So if anybody who knows the contract inside out, it would be Sammy Jackson. I don't know why is it that Mr. Tibbetts didn't choose to go on a credible platform like Radio Cayman and have his conversation and probably reach out to Sammy to better interpret the contract in which he's responsible for carrying out. That's the thing that really blows my mind. And that's why I said on my show that day, I said they turned my electricity off and my bill paid. I filed a lawsuit because that breach of contract. You can't turn my light off and my bill paid unless there's some natural disaster that is beyond anybody's control. But you can't be turning my light off premeditatedly and willingly and my bill paid unless your generators blow up and they're not running no more But you can't turn me off if I paid. But apparently Sasha didn't know that. Poor thing. You know what I mean? Information is key. And this thing about the grid, nobody wants to talk about this grid, you know. You realize I've been talking about this now for the better part of 10 years, and not one single person in or out of politics wants to talk about the grid, the distribution grid that we bought, paid, and maintain. People think that I talk in foolishness. People think that I just creating these ideas in my mind and talking about them and fear mongering people. But after Hurricane Ivan, and even before Hurricane Ivan, we maintained the grid. There's a surcharge on your bill. After Hurricane Ivan, there was a 15% surcharge on everybody bill, and it specifically told you what it was for. It was for rebuilding the grid, the repairs of Hurricane Ivan, and we bought and paid for that grid. We pay a surcharge to maintain it. So all the linemen and the people that you see out there working on the poles and maintaining them and fixing them, that come from our pocket because there's a charge on your bill that covers that expense. Then it on our land. All the light poles that carry a transformer is on our land. Why you think light poles are 2 feet off the road or 3 feet off the road and in some cases right on the road? Why you think that is? Knowing how dangerous light poles are to commuters in their cars. You know how many people have died hitting light poles? If those light poles didn't exist, you know how many people would still be living? Facts. And then they say, oh well, you can't have one without the next, and there's some sacrifices. Yeah, but for an island as small as Cayman, how come no new infrastructure isn't underground like everywhere else in a properly developed world? How is it that brand new subdivisions can still get light poles overhead when all you got to do is put in underground utilities and transfer stations? Why they don't do that? You know why they're not doing that? Because it can come out of our pocket. Everything that they do, we pay for it. They got a monopoly for distribution in Cayman, and they also charge us for everything they upgrading on their plant. You imagine? We got 100% pass through costs for fuel and all of their petroleum products. We pay for that. That's in their contract. Then they add on all of these other little charges to pay for all the other things and upgrades that they're doing. The 5 megawatt solar plant that they bought in Barton Town. You remember when you mysteriously on your bill alternative energy surcharge came up on your bill? What alternative energy you got? Can anybody that don't have solar go outside and see where your alternative energy is and ask the question, why you paying an alternative energy surcharge on your bill for what? And if they are charging us for the 5 megawatt facility they bought in Barton Town, not with our permission, if they are charging us for that, if the alternative energy surcharge is paying for that, well, how long are we gonna be paying that? And when we pay for it, who own it? Because I can't imagine paying monthly for something and then ultimately when the bill is paid off, I don't own it because I got a problem with that. I got a huge problem with that. But then we got people that up north reg that don't have a clue on how this works because they only listening to the paid narrative. I had a conversation with Sanji, who is now the CEO of Offreg. Sanji Miles is the CEO of Offreg now. And I pray he does well because one, he black and he Caymanian. So he got 2 strikes against him already. But the conversation I had with him previously before his appointment, he would try and ask me if I didn't if I wasn't grateful for the reduced bill that I was getting because of the 5 megawatt and the solar that put on. So I said to him, I say, you clearly don't have a clue on the ingenuity of that, so you should be quiet. And he told me he had bought a generator and he did a test or some foolishness and it worked out more or a little less. Anyway, all I know is this is that if you don't know the science and if you don't know the engineering of it, you need to be quiet. You need to be quiet because I can assure you that that alternative energy surcharge is for the solar that they're allowing on the grid and we paying for it. So I want to know, how is it that you can charge me for something that you bought and you own, but I paying for it? I want to know. because I'm not seeing it on my bill. I'm not seeing no reduction on my bill because of it. Government gave you permission to bring in these battery storages, and all now you know put them online. No battery storage online, sitting up there brand new, not been used. But again, no one wants to talk about the grid. No one wants to talk about the distribution grid. All I can hear is these stupid people talking about going green and going electric by 70% by 2035. Which bunch of fools got in a room, sat down and said that that's the most feasible, economic, and efficient position to take for Cayman? Who came up with that? I know who came up with that. They were influenced by the people who sell solar and the people who sell batteries. They part of the committee. So of course they're gonna write an energy policy that pencil in their business. Why wouldn't they? It would be stupid if they didn't. But at the end of the day, they are aware of these things. We make them aware of these things, but do they do anything different? We in Panan created a resilient ministry. You know? Ladies and gentlemen, let me make this very, 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 very clear. The population on planet Earth couldn't generate enough carbon dioxide to create CO2 gases that will stifle the 3.5 trillion trees that are on planet Earth. Those are the scientific facts. One tree absorbs 40 pounds of carbon per year, which is why it's called a carbon storage. That's what a tree is. And there are estimated to be 3 trillion trees on the earth today. It could be a lot more. So the emissions that we put out is absorbed by those trees 100,000 times over. So we carbon neutral. The same thing the Guyanese president told the British wannabe environmentalist that was interviewing him. He told him he need to be quiet. He said because their rainforest makes them carbon neutral. They got enough trees in their rainforest to offset their oil mines by 100 times. So they carbon neutral. That's the funny thing. But you see, the British know-it-all interviewer didn't want to go down that path, you see. That's not what they used to. They used to dominating people and belittling people and talking down to people and acting as people are lesser than them. That's how the British people are. And every British person in Cayman can't deny that. That's the history of the UK. Facts. They created corruption, they created banking. So everything that fundamentally bothering and troubling people today, they created it. They gave America independence, you know, even though America fought and won it, the Civil War, the big war with the red coats. But at the end of the day, they gave them independence. When we look at the infrastructure, the design, the policies that we have in place now, it is going to continue to create a society of reality that Caymanians are not participating on the levels in which they should and the levels that would generate their own personal small wealth generationally that they can hand down or pass on to their children, their children. It don't happen. Now, I know that the House sits back on the 5th of July. Maybe it may be pushed back now because of the storm. Because today is the 2nd, Friday is the 5th. So I know that the House is supposed to reconvene on the 5th of July. Maybe that's going to be pushed back. In fact, I'm pretty sure that they're going to push that back. But in any event, I would beg for any private member to bring a motion to start the conversation to take ownership of our distribution grid. And the reason why we need to do that is because East End, Northside, Savannah, Bordentown, all of the eastern districts can be powered by alternative energy, not from CUC grid down in the back of Sparkers Drive. There are other alternatives that we can do remotely in those areas, and that can take the load down and that can reduce. Because remember now, 90% of the average person in Cayman lives from Georgetown, from Crew Road to East End, North Side. That's where the average people live. So if you want to reduce the cost of living, that's where you start. So you can put subplants in Bordentown, East End, and North Side that can run those districts independently and bring down the cost of electricity by 70%. Facts. But again, you don't have the politicians who have enough backbone or bravery in order to implement these sort of things, which is why we need constitutional reform. We need immigration reform. We need to put a moratorium, of 100-year moratorium on permanent residences and status grants. Why? Because we haven't been able to digest the people we got in the system now. The cultural differences that we are seeing now, we haven't been able to digest it, to understand it, and harness policies in order to accommodate. We haven't. So if we keep the door open, it doesn't keep piling up and it doesn't get from bad to worse. And that's exactly what's happening now. Now, I will end by talking about the conservation bill, in which is, you know, going around saying that every article coming, and the thing is that when the ledger, you never cease to amaze me. You never really cease to amaze me with how you write your articles and who you get to write your articles. I know you published a few of mine before, but that's fine. But what I will say is this: is that I keep seeing these articles coming out saying that the government wanted to gut the National Conservation Bill and the NCA or whatever. Not, but when I looked at the facts around it, that they want to make some changes. Yes, that these organizations are not happy with. Yes, that's a fact. But they're not gutting it. They're making amendments that creates a better balance. And I blame the government for not doing a proper PR campaign in order to fully inform the public prior to this article coming out saying that they wanted to gut it, because no one knew what the proposals were. Nobody in the public knew what the proposals and the changes were. So it would be easy for one platform to say, "Oh, well, government want to gut it." They just use a terminology that sound more heinous or more detrimental than saying, "Oh, well, government want to make amendments to the National Conservation Bill." Mind, remember now, if the headline had read, "Government wants to make change," or even if they had said, "Government wants to make drastic changes to the National Conservation Bill," as opposed to UPM, government wants to gut the National Conservation Bill. Those two different things that basically trying to say the same thing but two different meanings. Gutting it meaning that you just want to do away with it. Amending it meaning that you want to make some changes that create a better balance. But again, neither side came out and said what the reality was. So people were just left guessing. So those people who followed CNS, they bought what she said and believed what she said. And then those people who followed other platforms that talks about these things without any conscious mind of reality, they bought what they were saying too. And people don't really understand the inner workings of most policies that government bring to the table. What I do know is this: is that when the House reconvene, and there are going to be a few motions that I heard Makiba mention on Radio Cayman a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. He mentioned a cyberbullying law. Yeah, if we implement a proper cyberbullying law, then all of these social platforms that call themselves news will have to then report news, because once the law is written and the nature of content is revealed to be bullying, cyberbullying, then we'll have a legal tool in order to police these platforms and ensure that when you say something that is considered as cyberbullying, you be held accountable to the full extent of the law. So I welcome that all day, every day. Kind of reminds me of the comprehensive recycling law. Why we in Pana and them never put it in place. I know why they didn't put it in place. They may want to contradict what I say. That's okay. I mean, to each his own. But I look at the facts. I just look at the facts. The Regen project needed garbage in order for the waste to energy to work. And putting a comprehensive recycling program in place would have reduced garbage going into the dump, not increased it, which was contrary to what the waste to energy plant needed in order for it to be financially feasible. So again, I understand now why they didn't move forward with implementing these things, right? But election season is here now. There's going to be a lot of new people running, and we encourage all the new candidates um, to, come out, get involved, get involved with the conversation. Start your campaign early. I can tell you right now, it's going to be important for you guys to get your message out. You need to get your message out because you can't just go run up against these old foots and these old veterans in them because they got their campaigning game already on lock. So for all the newbies out there, I encourage young, innovative, out of the box thinkers to run for politics. Clearly, I want to see a change, but I want to see a change for the better. I want to see a change for the new development of how we move Cayman forward. I sick of hearing people saying, "Oh, well, Cayman, you want to own a house, want to own one of them little side by side government ghetto schemes that they building. That want to own can't be that. Because that don't know Cayman dream. No, 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 no. That is the permanent residency and the person who got a status dream, because they come from countries that are far far worse than Cayman. So anything in Cayman called a house is a upgrade to them. You understand? And I make no apology for saying it the way I said it. You born and raised here and you got a good job and you gotta go live you gotta go live roof to roof with in a housing scheme that government put in place and saying that you're fixing the housing project. You're not fixing the housing project. You creating a minefield of crime and all sorts of things. Believe me when I tell you. And then you got the solar companies wanting government to subsidize them to put solar on these houses to offset electricity. Boy, you can't even make this stuff up, man. It's like a John Grisham novel. We was to sit down and chronologically put these stories together, man, it would be the bestseller on the fiction list, though. But for Cayman reality, anyway, we need the politician to make the motion to start the conversation about taking our grid, breaking up the monopoly of CUC. Okay, that's what we need. And for all you politicians that are incumbents and all of you that are new, you know, word of mouth is providing a platform for you. We have a platform here. You can come here and get your videos done. We're going to put a flyer up on our page that lists out a few things that we can provide you guys with, and and try to play an instrumental role in how you get your message out. We got some good young professional Caymanians who can do all of your graphic designs, your video editing, all of your videos, and we also have platforms to get your message where it needs to be. That's the important thing. Doing the videos and the editing is one part of it, and then getting it to the reach that you want is the other part of it. And I can assure you that there are a lot more young voters than you think, and the people you need to be targeting and trying to get on their platform is the younger generation. I can assure you of that. So again, thank you all for taking in word of mouth on this dawn of a storm. I pray for everybody that everybody's secured and everybody's prepared. Um, but I just want to, you know, let everyone know that's in the political arena and is proposing to get into the political arena is that you can contact us here on word of mouth, and we'll create this platform for you guys to come in and share your message. Get your stuff together. You understand? Get your manifesto. Let's get some. We need to get going now because Cayman need change, and sometimes you got to be the change that you need. You got to be that change. We hear that more times than often. So that's where we need to be. So after the show today, I'll be putting up a flyer on the word of mouth page where you guys can reach out on the by email, and then we can arrange. And the videographers and the people who do the videos are like I said again, young Caymanian professionals who are is extremely great at their job and know what they're doing and been doing it for a while. So again, thank you all for tuning in. And you should be able to view us on YouTube now that we're using back our live stream. And don't forget to tell a friend, share with a friend, and spread the word and let everybody know that Word of Mouth is back. And we're ready to continue the open dialogue that we've always shared here and talk about the topical issues, the things that are on most people's minds but are afraid to say. And for some people who just can't because of their contractual agreement with government, the civil servants. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Be safe during the hurricane. Charge up all your batteries. Fill up all your tubs with water. Get yourself prepared. All your non-perishable foods. Make sure you have them all in accessible areas. And last message is that for anybody who have the extra food or extra money to buy grocery cards or anything to help those families that are in need, I beg you, please reach out to someone in your neighborhood who may be in need, and make it a point to drive around and look. If you have something extra to give, please go and, as food is an essential part of survival, and a lot of people can't afford to buy it, and a lot of people got young children. You understand? So I beg you to at least look around your personal environment, see if there's anyone there that might need some help, and just help them. You don't need to contact our organization to give them the stuff to get. No, if you see someone, help them if you can. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. And then hopefully, if everything goes well with the storm, we'll do a broadcast on Friday. Thank you again. And that's the end of today's show.
We got to break Sariba up. Sariba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because let me tell you something, this is Dart Island.